My buddy cussed out the BG Pikes for killing a kid. First of all, not my place at all to talk about the hazing event that took place that night. It's just not my place to talk about it. With that being said, this is the greatest street justice moment I've ever experienced. Me and my buddies all rushed Teak at BG when we were in college. I don't know how Teak is now, but we rushed there because it was the most genuine group of dudes who didn't care about clout. They didn't care about anything but having a good time with their boys. And they had this iconic party house. It was like the animal house of our fraternity. And the guys who lived there were like the Mount Rushmore of Teak, in my opinion. As we all graduated, a few years go by, Greenbrier raises the rent, and the guys who were living there basically said, it's too expensive for us to keep the house. Like, we're college kids. We can't afford that. You can't get mad at them. Like, I totally understand that from a college standpoint. And Greenbrier has like a little real estate monopoly in BG, so there's nothing that you can do. But at the same time, we were bummed out about it. Well, a group of alumni put together this going away party for our party house, rented out this bar in downtown BG called Tubby's at 11 a.m. So basically, all the people that we hung out with in college over those 4 years show up at this going away party. We start drinking at like 11 a.m. and we are absolutely hammered. Like, and me being the lightweight of my friend group, I'm like, guys, I'm leaving, and it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. One of our friends, we'll call him, tells me he's trashed, but he's got some guys taking care of him. He's good. I leave with some of the younger guys, get some Taco Bell, sober up, because I want to make it to the actual party at our old party house. A few hours pass. I go to the party, realize none of my close friends are there, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. I'm trying to call some of my buddies. Well, you know how it is at the party houses. There's loud music, people talking everywhere, so I can't hardly hear my phone ring. So I start walking down the street to our old party house that me and my buddies occupied when we were in college, just thinking maybe they went over there to see how the house looks. Sometimes you want to see who's living there or see what's left over from when you were there. I'm not paying attention. I accidentally pass our party house. A few houses down from our old party house was this empty parking lot. Well, I'm literally calling my buddy. He's not answering, and I had tried to call all my buddies. They didn't answer, so I just had a weird feeling. I hang up the phone, look over to my left, and I see this guy laying in these bushes running across the edge of this parking lot. As I start looking over there, there's like 3 or 4 guys over there helping this guy up. Kind of observing the situation, I realize, oh shit, that's my buddy. So I go running over as these guys are kind of helping him, and so drunk to the point where like he can't even talk. I think everyone knows the nights where your friends are so trash that you look at them and they're just not there. You can tell they're just not coherent, not on this earth at the moment. I go running up to these guys. I'm like, hey fellas, this is my buddy. I'll take him from here, because they were walking him back towards the backyard of our old party house. I grab him from these guys. I'm trying to talk. You good, bro? You good? He recognizes me, says my name, but he is just not there. He is completely gone. Well, the guys who were helping him, I notice they're the house next to us, which was the Pikes who were involved with that hazing incident. And I'm like, oh shit, like no wonder they were helping. And we were up there during the trial that they were going through. So they're in some serious legal shit. You can look it up. I don't have the details of it, but they were on some type of house arrest, I believe, at the time. I'm walking Kyle into our backyard, which is the neighboring house to these Pikes. I'm carrying a dead body. It was not functioning. But as we turn into our backyard, and again, I'm just kind of watching the Pikes going, damn, that's crazy. The dudes that were involved in this hazing incident were the guys helping my buddy. I wasn't the only one that realized that, because as soon as we step into my backyard, something clicked for he comes back to life. So he starts yelling at the Pikes, hey, you guys are some bitches. Fuck you guys. And starts talking shit to them. They start screaming back at us, because Pike at BG is just kind of like, they were always the dumb jock fraternity. I know it sounds like I'm generalizing, but that's really who they were. They were the Thads from Blue Mountain State of our school. So these guys, there's like 3 or 4 of them. They come over to the shitty little metal fence that divided our yards, and they start screaming at us, fuck you guys, man. We just helped your buddy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, really? Like, you saw how drunk he was. Like, this dude is like staggering, yelling at him. Can't even walk in a straight line. And I'm like, there's no point in having this conversation right now. And they're like, nah, he's talking shit, bro. They start screaming all this stuff at us, calling us pussies and bitches. And I'm like, oh God, we're about to get our ass beat. Like, nah. You guys are some pussies, and like talking shit back to him, just saying drunken nonsense. And the funniest part about it is, he cannot even stand up straight. He's got one hand on this shitty metal fence. All these jack dudes are yelling at him, and he's just like, one of these guys, he was jacked, right? He's in a cut off backwards hat. He's got like the tribal tattoos going down his arm. He He goes, "We were just helping your buddy get up, and now he's talking shit to us. What the fuck is your guys' problem?" And it's the typical like rage, right? Like all the veins in his neck are sticking up. His hair is going wild. His hat almost falls off. And there's a pause. His buddy stops screaming. I'm trying not to laugh. So I'm like, okay, man. Okay. And longest pause. Looks at me, looks back, rips his flannel off. He had a t-shirt and flannel over top. He takes his flannel off, throws it to the ground so calmly. Tom, do I have to beat this pussy's ass right now? I just lost it. I started laughing out loud. I couldn't even mediate. Who again was incoherent, is dying laughing, holding himself up on the fence because the dude who just had his full rage fit's like, "Are you fucking serious right now, bro? You seriously talking shit after all this?" You know which fraternities occupy which party houses. So these guys obviously all know it's a teak house. So they start talking shit about teak, telling us what pussies teak was, how gay teak was, like all the typical stuff that fraternity people say about the other fraternities, right? They're not as cool as they're just going on and on about teak. And we're like, guys, we graduated like 3 years ago. We don't give a shit what you think about teak. And they're like, well, that doesn't mean teak never done fucked up shit. And they start on all that. Teak, we've heard shit about teak doing this and teak doing that and da 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 da. And talk about just the ultimate roast. They've talked shit about teak for almost 3 minutes at this point, to the point where we're like, Jesus, dude, like we are alumni. We are not students at BG anymore. We do not care. Finally, points right at the Pikes and goes, "Pike killed a kid. What are you talking about?" You know when you roast someone too hard and they're just speechless? All these Pikes, their faces, they're just like, it was the longest silence. You could have taken it there at any point just to end the argument. But the way did it, he just is like, looks at me, looks back, and he's like, "Talking shit about teak? Pike killed a kid." They all just were speechless. Like, and it literally took them a good 5 seconds to actually respond, even just with like a simple like "fuck off," right? So they're screaming at us, "I can't believe you just said that. That's so wrong. You should have never said something like that." Like, screw all this stuff. And I just started laughing. I'm like, guys, I'm taking him inside. I just tried to push towards the door, picked up his flannel, and that was the end of the situation. But oh my gosh, dude. Like, just one of the funniest moments in BG I've ever experienced. And it was 3 years after we graduated. We ended up getting sobered up, he ate like a full loaf of bread, and we ended up taking him over to the going away party, which we had, we ended up having a good night. But just so funny. And the irony of like, we had like, that was just a random weekend that was scheduled by our alumni. Like, we didn't even have any idea that whole hazing incident was going to happen. And again, just what are the odds that the very guys who are on house arrest and on trial for that hazing situation end up being the ones that are helping my buddy out of the bush, and then we end up having that exchange. But it's just also just one of those things, like, I guarantee you any BG alumni who watch this outside of like the Pike groupies and the Pikes themselves, everybody wishes that they could have said something like that to the Pikes. In a full circle moment for us, it just felt like the greatest street justice moment ever. He actually got to call out the guys that kind of fucked it up for everybody. Because that's the thing, is like, BG is such a great town, great community around the college kids, and the Greek life there was really a positive experience. Obviously, fraternities and sororities have their little rivalries and beefs, but overall, everybody gets along pretty well, and you don't really care about that stuff at the end of the day. There's always one group of, and it's not just in Greek life, but there's always just one group of people that are kind of bad news and they're doing bad stuff, and that was the Pikes at our at our school. So the fact that my buddy got to absolutely roast him like that was just hilarious. And again, I'm not making light of what happened with that hazing incident. Anytime somebody loses their life in college, regardless of the reasoning behind it, it's just a shame. It really is. And my condolences to the young man who lost his life and those who were close to him and his family. Like, seriously, my heart goes out to them because I can't imagine what that was like. But at the same time, I don't, honestly, that's one of the things, like, I don't know how you solve that. Like, I truly believe with the hazing stuff, like, no matter what the universities do, no matter what rules are put in place by the organizations that monitor Greek life, you can't stop hazing until there's a group of freshmen that come in and say, I'm not rushing if you're going to make me do something that puts my life at risk. Period. Like, that's the thing. Because, again, there is hazing that happens, and 90% of the time, nothing bad happens and nothing goes wrong. And even the non-hazing fraternities, the stuff they do could be considered hazing. And I have a hard time with it because I do feel like, for me as a freshman, I was a cocky little shit, and I thought I was going to run Bowling Green, Ohio when I went there. So I needed some older guys to humble me up. And it's not that they're like diminishing who you are as a person or trying to kill your self-confidence. What it is it's changing your perspective and maturing you to realize that, like, you're not more important than anybody else in this world. Like, your life does not hold any more significance than the person next to you. So it really is just, it's not that it's hazing to make you feel like this belittled piece of crap. It's making you realize, like, hey, this is a brotherhood. This is how we do things. You're about to join a family. There's a certain way that you have to carry yourself. There's a certain expectation that goes with joining this organization that we expect you to hold up to. Like, this, there's a standard that you should live by, not only for our group, but for yourself as an individual to succeed at the highest possible level and be the best version of yourself. These are our principles, and this is how we expect people who join this group to carry themselves. And I think that's a reasonable expectation. I actually think that's a positive, because you need that in life. You need to be able to take a breath, realize that we've all been created equal. Everybody in the United States of America, at least, should be on the same level. And there's a lot of people up in high, powerful places that don't want equality, and they want to keep us divided, which is an unrelated point to this story. But again, the point being is, like, there's a lot of positive social interactions that go on through student organizations, kind of making you realize, hey, this is how we do things. There's kind of a moral code that we want you to abide by, and that ultimately can make you a better person and help you get to a better place on your life path. It's always been a pet peeve of mine that in our society, anytime something negative happens, you group everybody into it. Like, all of Greek life is bad, or every fraternity does this really bad, dangerous hazing across every college campus. And it's like, no, that's not the truth. Like, it's actually the complete opposite. 90% of everybody in that group or that area of life does things right, treats people well, takes care of each other. But you have a couple bad seeds here and there that ruin it for everyone. I do think that's just an important thing in our society to remember, is like generalizing and blaming everybody for the actions of one small group or one individual. It's not right. Again, not my place to speak on that particular incident because somebody did lose their life. But as far as hazing overall goes, what society gets wrong about the hazing thing is that when it comes to guys, not just in a fraternity, any group of guy friends, the way that they verbally talk to each other and interact could be considered hazing in today's society. The problem that comes with hazing is the reality of the brotherhood, because there are certain fraternities that guys just join because they're told that they're going to get hella bitches and party like crazy, and then you get all the fads from Blue Mountain State. Those are the type of fraternities they end up in, and that's not a genuine brotherhood. When I rushed a fraternity, I was looking to find a bond with actual guys who were going to teach me how to grow into a young adult. Yeah, I wanted to have fun. I wanted to party and do all the stuff that comes with the social life of college, but I also wanted to meet a group of guys that were like me and actually became my friends. And that's the difference between a fraternity that's just chasing numbers and clout versus a fraternity that's actually trying to build a real bond of brothers. In my opinion, there's a majority of fraternities that are still trying to do it that traditional way. Like, no, this is a brotherhood. These are friends that you're going to have for the rest of your life. These are your brothers. That's a real tradition. That's a true camaraderie. And what comes with that is there's actually guys who take care of you when you do get too drunk. Because the truth of the matter is, there's college kids that voluntarily get that drunk and never join a fraternity or a Greek life organization or a student club or anything like that. Whether it was a pledge event or just me drinking too much on my own, somebody from my fraternity always took care of me when I was having a bad night and made sure that I was okay. And we did that for all of our fraternity brothers. That's the difference between a true friendship and a brotherhood and camaraderie versus these guys like, and I'm just going to be honest, at BG, it was the Pikes and Sig Eps who are just like, yeah, bro, come party with us, sick frat stuff. Every campus has those fraternities. There's good people out there. There's good Greek life organizations out there that actually build a true camaraderie, and they don't haze you at all. But in today's society, every little thing, like me calling my buddy soft, could be considered verbal hazing, even though I'm joking with my friend. And see, that's the problem, in my opinion, with the social media stuff in society, is like everybody wants to throw their opinion out there and hope that it goes viral, when really all they're doing is throwing out a bunch of BS judgment. It comes back to that old thing, like opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. It doesn't mean that it actually is correct. It's just somebody throwing their opinion out there. So going back to the whole hazing incident that took place at Bowling Green a couple years ago, the Pikes have never been a genuine brotherhood. Like, anybody who went to BG as a student and had any affiliation with Pike could tell you there's no real brotherhood there. Those are guys that are just chasing clout and wanted to be in the jock fraternity and drink and party. There were Pikes that didn't even know each other because they were just rushing for numbers. That's not a real brotherhood. That's not a real bond of people actually becoming friends. It's a bunch of dumb jocks who wanted to win intramural sport games and drink and have fun and get hella bitches. That's not really what a fraternity is, and I'm just going to be honest with you about that. And I'm not saying that it's Pike nationally, but that was the Pikes at BG. They didn't even know each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no question that something like that was going to happen, because what really happened that night, this kid was doing a pledge event for Pike. They made him drink a fifth of liquor and then just left him at his apartment. They didn't actually like take care of him, make sure he was okay. Because again, it's not the drinking. There's college kids that will literally just drink too much one night, make a poor decision, but they have good friends who take care of them and make sure that they get to the hospital and get their stomach pumped, or that they're monitored all night so that they don't drown in their own puke. Because that's the reality of kids. You make poor decisions because you're immature, you're trying to figure yourself out, and some nights you do drink too much and do stupid shit. So that whole situation is being called hazing, and we blame all of Greek life and throw all of Greek life under the bus on Twitter and shit, when in reality, it was one bad group of kids that have always been doing stupid stuff, and it was bound to happen, but it affects everybody. In reality, every college kid does stupid stuff at times, but they have a genuine group of friends that actually takes care of them. Like, that's the difference in those two things, and that's something that really should be differentiated. There's a difference between a genuine brotherhood and tradition versus just a fraternity that's rushing for athletic kids to win intramural games and clout and try to pull bitches. Like, there's a difference in those two things. It's a shame that it happened to such a great college town and such a great community where Greek life was actually a pretty good thing. And ultimately, I do believe Greek life is a good thing for people to not only make friends, but to have a unique experience in college, because regardless of what fraternity or sorority you join, your experience is unique. So again, I'm not bashing Pike, but it's one of those things. There's always fraternities that just rush for numbers, all the surface level stuff that's not actually becoming genuine friends with somebody and making a bond through whatever student organization you join. Like, those are two different things. And it's unfortunate that it happened at BG, but it's not just the BG Pikes. It happens everywhere. I hate the media aspect of hazing, because they try to always bash all of Greek life or all of a fraternity across the board. And it's like, there's bad seeds everywhere. And those situations happen because of the circumstances that are being operated by a very small group of individuals who, in most cases, everybody at that college knows that that group of guys is bad news. The hazing incident aside, us having that exchange with the Pikes was one of the funniest street justice moments ever. And it was organically put together by powers above us, the way that it went down. Because again, my buddy just wandered out of a bar and happened to fall into some bushes because he was too drunk to find our old party house. And kudos to him for even finding it. The fact that he drifted through downtown Bowling Green drunk by himself, it's impressive that he got as close as he did. Honestly, just unbelievable that it all went down the way that it did. But that'll be a memory for me and my boy, even though I had to tell him about it the next day. It was just one of those funny things that I don't think I'll ever forget. So that's today's story. Hope everybody's well. Appreciate everybody who's been following and subscribing. We got a nice little numbers boost. It's probably not my place because I have a much smaller following than a lot of people, but it always amazes me that people who get famous in certain areas, especially as social media influencers, anybody who just kind of thinks they're too big or too good to reply to a fan or respond to their DMs or just like things that get sent to them by their fans. If you're a social media influencer, the only reason that you have any money or any relevance on social media is because people liked you enough to start following you at some point. So I don't understand how people can be like I think I don't know if Mr. Beast was being serious, but I saw a clip where he was like, "Oh yeah, fuck my fans," and it's like you would be nothing without all these people that love to watch your videos. So I really do appreciate everybody who supports me on any platform. I try to respond and interact with everybody who hits me up. I really do appreciate the fact that anyone out there is even willing to take the time to subscribe and do that stuff. I mean that means the world to me, and that's the stuff that keeps you going because it's like, oh man, I might be good enough to keep doing this and continue to build a following of people. So I appreciate all of you. I'm glad that my stories hold some relevance and seem to have a positive impact on your lives, regardless of what that is. I appreciate all of you, and I'm going to keep going with this, and we're just going to see where it takes us. So I appreciate everyone being along for the ride. It's been quite a journey, and we're really just getting started with it. So hope everybody's well. Talk soon. Talks with Tom.
Taking shots by the lake till I can't even breathe no more, see no more. I was riding around town thinking to myself,